your cup of coffee or your tea. Sit back and let's chat about what is happening up in the sky, up in the stars this week. This week, the last week of July, starting today, July 27th. The report we're looking at today will be through August 2nd. And it is a crazy week. I played around with a couple of different titles that I wanted to title this week's video: Upsetting, Explosive, Confusing Awakening, or Weekly Astrology, We're in the Spin Cycle. Perhaps I'll stick with that one, as it seems the most apropos for what it is that we're going to experience this week, especially coming out of what have been two quieter weeks astrologically. And I got to set my coffee down before I wear it. And then we look at this week and it sort of jumps out at you as one of the crazier ones that we've experienced, at least for a couple of weeks. But we're getting used to this, right? We are so into the idea of change and development and being able to grow and expand in ways that we probably never thought we could, right? So today we get a reminder of that. And we are able then to see more clearly, perhaps, what it is that we are meant to be doing in our life. And we also have some confusion about all of that pops up in the week. And so in that case, then sometimes what we're experiencing is a little more disconcerting than helpful. So, and what's disconcerting to me right now is I see that I'm live, but I can't seem to get to the broadcast itself. So that I can see your comments. And that always just sort of ticks me off that things don't work the way that I want them to. Well, anyway, let me see here if I can go to YouTube itself and find myself. I'm not. So, even though I know it's there, I see it, I see it, I see it. So let's see if I can do that. And then there we go. Now I'll be able to see comments and say good morning to everybody. Hello, J-Lo, Kimberly and Joshua and Mimi. Good morning to you, Allison. Good morning, Debbie Johnson. Good morning, Amy, Valerie, Amanda Hanson. Good morning. It's great to see everybody out there. And Jennifer Peachy, there you are. And Camilla, there you are too. Good morning, everybody. I hope you all had a great weekend as well. It was very beautiful here in the Northwest. Finally, sunshine and warmer temperatures. Now I can complain it's hot. I hadn't been able to do that yet. So here we are. Let's take a look then. Let's start by looking ahead at the week. We'll go big and then we'll bring it in to the day. And there's quite a bit for the day and there's quite a bit for the week. So just hang on to your hats here as we go through all of this information this morning. First of all, as we look ahead down the week, we start the week off today with a lot of, I wrote one word, crazy, right? We have Jupiter sextile Neptune. We have Venus squaring Neptune. We have Mercury squaring Mars. We have in behind those bigger things, we have Venus in an inconjunct to Jupiter. An inconjunct is also called a quincunx. So it's a very difficult sort of transit, but it's adding tension and the need to adapt and change, but under the surface sort of things. And then we also have the sun in a sesquiquadrate, another square sort of feeling to the planet Neptune. So we have Sun, Venus, Neptune, Jupiter, all very much in focus today. And as well, remember on Friday, we talked about Saturday, that Mars was going to be moving into the gate 51 in human design, which is a gate of awakening. We call it the gate of shock because often it is something that happens in our lives of a shocking quality. That shock is meant to initiate us on a more spiritual path. But you know how we are as human beings, we tap into the emotional part of whatever it is that's happened. And adding to that today, then is Jupiter changing gates. She's moving, he's moving. I don't know why I always think Jupiter is a she. Jupiter's moving into the gate 54, where he will be until October 30th. And we'll talk more about that gate during the week, but literally it is the gate of greed in its lowest expression, aspiration in its gift level, and ascension, changing paradigms, right? Moving up a level in its highest expression. It speaks to both our mundane work that we're doing on the planet, as well as our spiritual work that we're doing here on the planet. So Tuesday, Wednesday, we get a little bit of a respite. Thursday, Mercury moves into an opposition with Jupiter, Mercury in the later degrees of Cancer, and Jupiter, of course, in Capricorn, so an opposition forms. And then we also have a trine to Neptune on Thursday from Mercury, and that also happens to be the last day of our 13-day week, or our spiral of consciousness. And so we're looking at ascension already at that point in time, bringing things into a completion under our umbrella of transcending. So it would be useful this week at some point, or even starting now, to look back over the 13 days and see what it is that you've worked to transcend. How have you changed? How have you awakened? How have you moved through some of the energies that have been presented to you, or some of the opportunities that have been presented to you? Then on Saturday, we have Mercury in an opposition to Pluto. That one stands out to me as one of particular interest, as Pluto is the great transformer, Mercury bringing us the information, the thinking patterns to be able to embrace that transformation. And then that happens to be the one day of our new spiral of consciousness, right? Our ascension. We've got our graduation diploma. We're moving into the next level. That next level is catalyzing energy, one catalyzing. So, which in the Mayan calendar maybe demonstrates it more clearly for us, that Kawayak in the Mayan calendar was a day that represented a thunderstorm, or a big storm, a windstorm, thunder, lightning, the whole bit, that clears the air. So catalyzing energy is often clearing the air in some way, clearing the path forward for something new to begin. And that might mean that the following 13-day period of time can be a little bit disturbing and disruptive, as new things are beginning to emerge, that new things wanting to pop up through the soil, if you will, and wanting to urge us on to embrace all that is and all that will be. The sun on Sunday, our final day in the week, will be in a square to Uranus. That one gives me a little bit of pause, because they're both highly energetic. The sun in Leo wanting full attention on himself, and Uranus in Taurus saying, not so fast. You have to, before you can be all that you can be, you have to be aligned with your values. And Uranus is the planet that I always think of that sort of runs coherently with the gate of shock, even though it's, in human design, the gates don't have planets associated with them necessarily, unless you have it by birth, a planet sitting there. But it makes me think a little bit more around surprises or upsets and things like that. And we are then in the first week of August at that point in time. And the political landscape here, at least in the US, is ramping up, the mudslinging, let the mudslinging begin, as if it hasn't already been in process. And I don't know. I think it's probably going to be a very interesting week. And I think the best way for us to deal with this kind of a week is to be prepared, be awake, be in your own body during this period of time. And that may be a little more difficult because of the preponderance of Neptune transits coming up for the week, starting the day today. Let me just say good morning to everybody. Good morning, moon sign. I think that's Tati. Kimberly says, I've missed all of you. We've missed you too. Jackie Piccola, good morning. Ursula, hello. And thank you. Amanda J says, hi, good to see you all. Debbie Johnson and J-Lo, hello, hello. Laura Hammer, good to see you too. And it's always great to see people that are new, and we welcome you if you're new and watching us for the first time. But of course, all of our regulars are in the house as well, and that always makes me feel good. Okay, so let's take a look at today. We're going to bring it in. We're going to look at each of the transits that are occurring today. And because there are so many, we want to just dive right in here. And then we'll take a little bit deeper look at the Pleiadian Earth energy and where we are right now. Because even though I know we're coming to the weekend and then we're going to have a birthing of a new week, we want to make sure we don't miss out on the things that are happening to close out this particular week. So here we are today with the moon having moved into Scorpio very early in the morning. and might have been late in the evening for you, like for me, if you were on the West Coast. And that brings us into some energy that is very deep and very passionate and very powerful, and can imply that in the emotional undertones of the day and tomorrow as well, our power struggles and our ability to really tap into, or watching other people tapping into their personal ambition. And do their personal ambitions match what the community, the tribe, or the nation need? We don't know, right? We don't know that exactly. We don't know what other people's personal ambitions are, but also you're tapping into your own personal ambition. And during that time, you may become aware of what your secret motivations are for that ambition. And there's no shame in saying outright, this is what I want, right? This is what's driving my ambition. You know, there's no sense in hiding that you want to have a solid financial footing, let's say, or that you want to be thought of as an expert in your field, or whatever it is that's really under the surface and driving your ambitions. Because if you ignore those ambitions, for example, we talked about this, and we probably are going to talk about it again today somewhere, because I think I saw it here in another transit we were going to talk about. If you, it's the Pleiadian Earth energy today of 10, manifesting the universal day, where if you are setting out an intention, and an ambition is akin to an intention, and that intention is entered into with fear or with some sort of upset around it, then that colors the whole of that intention. And so you're going to have results that maybe don't really suit you. Or let's say you begin something and you have an underlying motivation that maybe you've not said out loud. Maybe you haven't even recognized that that's the motivation. And maybe it stands at odds with what it is that you're trying to create. And again, you're going to have these mixed results. You're going to have, things going one direction that you want them to go, and then suddenly they turn off in another direction. So our awareness of those hidden motivations becomes very helpful in helping direct our energies toward what it is that we really desire. And of course, Scorpio energy represents politics and psychology. So there are things in the depth that might come up for us over the next couple of days. And our word of the week, this 13-day period that we are currently in, was transcending, right? And Scorpio Moon represents transcendence, that transformational energy, the letting go of the baggage that's hanging out here on your back that doesn't support you to move forward. So it's a great time today, tomorrow, to, consider what it is that you might need to let go of so that you can move forward, right? This energy is change. It is restoration. So, and reformation, I think you could also go with the sign of Scorpio, where out of the things that have crashed around you, or out of the changes that are happening, the turnover of things in your personal life is the opportunity to restore, to revive even in some way. And also forgiveness comes into this play because the sign of Scorpio often holds on to things too long, and their grievances or their deep emotional wounds. And forgiveness is one of the best, surest, fastest ways to help you let go of that baggage, to transcend the old. One way, forgiveness, right? Letting go of your judgments on it, on yourself, letting go of all of that. Suspending judgment is basically what forgiveness means. So we have that going on as well. Moon in Scorpio brings up crisis energy. And this is the part that makes me go, yeah, because we have the planet Mars at the gate 51, and we have all of this Neptune energy today and into tomorrow, and even later in the week, that make things unclear, that make things foggy, where we can't think clearly. We're not seeing clearly, and we really have to rely more on our inner world, our inner thriving space, as opposed to our outer world. We can't look to the outer world for thriving because really all that's out there is this survival thing going on. So we have to look inward to where we have a space within us that thrives, right? That really understands the higher aspects of what is happening on the planet, but also within us. And so crisis, taking risks to gain power, not a good plan. Sometimes, though, you have to take calculated risks. I like to think about that in the fifth house. I often say it's the house of taking risks, among other things, love and romance and creativity, etc., and our children and living from a childlike enthusiasm. But it also implies that you have to take some qualified risks or calculated risks in your life to move forward. So what maybe have you been holding back from doing that might seem a little risky on the surface? So it may be taking a calculated risk that I know what the results might be, but I'm willing to do this because I've got to move forward, right? I have to move forward. Scorpio, obsessions and compulsions. We may be coming face to face with those, and also having intense interactions. I always think of Scorpio energy about with people that are Scorpios, for me personally, because Gemini is a sign that squares Scorpio. And I feel like sometimes it's an inconjunct, I believe. So I'm sometimes feeling very intensity coming from that person, and I want to push back. So we may have intense interactions, and I'm going to encourage you to lean in instead of pushing back. Lean in, see all that you can glean from this interaction that you're having with this person. It might be a part of your evolution. It might be a part of your spiral of consciousness and how it is that you can move forward. Scorpio Moon, self-mastery. You know, the opposite sign of Scorpio is Taurus. And in Taurus, we're always working on self-acceptance, self-worth, self-esteem. And here in Scorpio, the exact opposite sign, we have self-mastery that comes up. And in self-mastery, we have self-discipline, disciplining of the self, right? Disciplining of your own mind, disciplining of your own heart. And I don't mean discipline in a negative way either. I'm just saying, how do I bring them into alignment? That might be a discipline. We also are faced with our oppositions sometimes. Here we have these concepts of good and evil. And it's so funny because I keep getting, I don't know why people insist on sending me these things, but they do. They send me these videos and of these people and their conspiracy theories. And the conspiracy theories are nearly as horrible as the perceived reality that we're living in. Either way you look at it, we're still quantifying things by good and evil. And that is something that we are going to have to learn to square with, because there is no good and evil. It is just what it is, right? They're opposite sides of the same coin. You could look at the coin as the energy of evolution and of our growing up, our maturing. We talked about that last week. And in self-mastery in Scorpio, we're also, what are we committed to? Our commitment level, our commitment to ourselves, to our growth, to our own mastery, our commitment to one another in relationship, and our commitment to that growth and to that evolution, to bringing more peace or more love or more joy into our lives. And then that also brings us to Scorpio's energy of bonding. It represents sex. It represents soulmate relationships, the depth of our connections, not the superficial, feelings that we have. It's a much deeper emotional bond that we have when we're looking at Scorpio. And it's deep, it's emotional, it's connection, and it can take us to that it can lead us into that obsession compulsion. And it's that power struggle between people that can go into that more negative space. So all of the issues around bonding are our needs as human beings to be connected, right? To be feeling like we're a part of something, to be feeling like we belong or that we are loved. And it's a very deep emotional connection. And it's not one that's very superficial. It's not one that you see on the surface. It's, maybe there's some driving force deep within you to connect with people, but maybe you don't know how to go about that. And so you are often more obsessive in your search for that relationship or that one relationship. I run into this a lot of times with people who are on a spiritual path. It's not that they're obsessive about getting into a relationship or their relationships, but they're obsessive almost about knowing what they're here to do or who they are. And I see that happen time and time again in readings with people where they're just so focused that they can't step back and see the bigger picture. So we have to see the bigger picture, but we also want to go into the depth. So we're merging those two worlds, the deep and the superficial, and we're bringing them into some form of transformation, perhaps in your life, or transcending the old in order to make room for the new. Haha. In the astrology chart, Scorpio rules the 8th house. And the 8th house is a house we often think of too as a sharing of resources or other people's money, I like to call it sometimes. So here's where loans, taxes, credits, your debts all reside, your connection to wills or inheritance energy, contracts that are particularly business oriented, and how do we bond together in these sort of ways. So since this has a sort of money energy attached to it, it may be a great time to take a look at your finances. It might be a good time to look at how you can reduce debt. I'm not sure that the economy is going to revive as quickly as we all hoped it would. So if that's the case, then are you prepared for maybe a 6-month to 9-month period of time where the economy is not doing so well? So what have you prepared? Have you put money away and either putting money away or saving money or looking to your investments, and are they balanced? And on the other end, reducing debt so that you don't have a huge debt load on you during this period of time. So what can you do to create more sustainability in your financial life, I guess, is how we can look at this. All right. I want to hear what people are saying about that or your questions about that. Let's see. Valerie Jocelyn, good morning. Do you have any insight you can share about Lion's Gate? I think I go through this every year, Valerie, because people out there romanticize these times that we go through in a year. So the Lion's Gate, often people look at this because on August 8th, 8/8, that they think of this as a Lion's Gate because it's during the Leo time. There's also a relationship there with the heliacal rising of Sirius, the dog star, and in here where I live anyway, in the Pacific Northwest, it begins to be very prominent in the night sky. And so I don't buy into that kind of BS. I just don't. I see it's a gate, it's a day, it's an, if it's, to me, the gates and portals are things like the new moon or the full moon or an eclipse or an ingress of a sign, of a planet into a sign, meaning it's moving into a sign. Those create portals. The date of August 8th does not make a portal, right? Because you're only taking two numbers and you're trying to make something of it. If you add up 8 plus 8, it's 16. So you're really at a 7. And it's an incomplete date because you're not taking the 8, and the 2020, which would be a 4. So then you have 16 and 4, and it's a 20, right? So it's 2. And so I think, sometimes people do a disservice. It's great to play with that, make some, semantics about it, but it's really not about that. We're in the Lion's Gate. We moved into the Lion's Gate last week when the sun moved into Leo. So again, we get into that, these things that people make up that distract us from what's really going on. So hopefully I'm not walking on anybody's beliefs about that, but there are true portals. There are true gates. There are true times when we're walking into new energy. But the Lion's Gate to me does not make sense. If someone out there can explain it to me in a way that makes sense and why there's always this Lion's Gate thing that comes up at this time of year, I'd be happy to hear it. But anyway, so I hope that helps. Or doesn't, I don't know. Anyway, Ursula, yes, moving from duality thinking toward neutrality, indeed. JLo says, it reminds me of the card you pulled with the 8/8 on Friday. Forgot for whom. Who was that? I don't remember, but I do remember pulling that. Joshua says you get 2 with the year. There you go. See, that's even more complete. That gives you the complete picture of a day and not just somebody's idea of, we're in the Lion's Gate. I think sometimes people like to do that because it gives them something to talk about. Destiny, Thank you, Janet. I had suspicions about the Lionsgate thing and felt the same as you. Deborah, I think looking into a secure investment with your monies would be helpful. Mutual funds are so volatile right now. Just a suggestion. Always great suggestions. But again, this is all about your own inner inclinations, right? What is your inner voice telling you? Because what somebody might need to protect their funds from, for another person, it's needing to take the risk and put some money into some kind of fund. So again, following your inner voice. And moon sign, I agree, Janet. I didn't believe the Lionsgate thing, but I love my birthday is 8/8. Hey, so it is a Lionsgate for you. You are walking into your new birth year. Although I would suspect that might happen on August 7th because we had a leap year this year. And so everybody's birthdays are sort of running either 12 to 24 hours ahead of schedule. So, so right. Love it. Thanks for the truth on that one. You're very welcome. J-Lo, eclipse for sure are portals. Indeed. There are. That's why I say, you know, there are authentic portals that we walk through in a month, right? The new moon and the full moon give us those portals of time. And I do consider an ingress of a planet into a new sign as a portal, right? Because you're shifting energy and focus from one sign into the other. And we have an ingress of Mercury in August 4th into Leo, right? That's on August 4th. If you want to look at a Lion's Gate, there's one, right? You could say that the ingress of Mercury into Leo is a Lion's Gate. Mercury has been forever, it seems like, in Cancer. So we're changing up that energy as he moves into a new sign, a portal, right? Anything else? Happy Monday, Adrian. It's good to see you. Mimi says, Tati 8/8 here as well. Never noticed as an energy shift, though. I do have a pull of my Sirius connection. Sirius is starting to really get more prominent in the sky. I think the thing here in the Northwest is up at the noon position around August 8th. So I'm not sure who it is that's talking about Lionsgate this year, but that's what I thought of it last year when I was having a conversation with a friend about the same thing, same topic. Oh, we're going to the Lionsgate. What do you think about that? Okay. Valerie, thanks for your take. You're welcome. And 8/4, she will be 16. Oh, that's awesome. So she will be experiencing Mercury in Leo this year. She might be speaking more from a confident place as the year goes on. 16 is a magical time. Okay, so if you guys have any other questions about gates or portals, let me know. And in the meantime, I'm going to go talk about the major aspects that are occurring today. So the first one on my list for today is Jupiter in a sextile to Neptune. Now, this is very similar, only different, from last year's Saturn sextile Neptune. Remember, we had 3 opportunities for our Saturn sextile Neptune in 2019. And that was all about establishing a spiritual practice, right? Incorporating the spirituality into our mundane everyday life and becoming more and more spiritually inclined. And then this year, we have a mirror image, this time of Jupiter in a sextile to Neptune 3 times. The first one was on February 20th. The second one is today. And the third one, October 14th. And then we have this opportunity with this to become, I don't know that we can become spiritually enlightened at this time necessarily, but it's a time to start focusing on spiritual enlightenment in your life. So having established perhaps a spiritual practice last year in the process of Saturn coming together with Neptune, now you're going deeper, right? You're becoming more contemplative. You're becoming more meditative even, or more aware of your motivations and what your inner dynamic is all about. So it's a spiritual enlightenment time. Do we finally reach to spiritual enlightenment during this time? I think that's on a person by person basis. And I think it's about all of our growing more and more toward our spiritual goals and having a spiritual, how about this? Adopting a coherent spiritual philosophy, walking your talk, right? That is the one that really gets to me. So walking your talk in your spiritual enlightenment. It is also, there's a very creative energy here with Neptune and Jupiter coming together this way. Remember, a sextile is a 60-degree relationship between the planets, and that means that they really recognize each other, that, you know, they're in different signs, but they certainly value and acknowledge and recognize each other's gifts and talents, right? That's kind of what a sextile does. So they're working well together. And, you know, Jupiter in the older astrology is the ruler of Pisces, which we also think of as a very spiritual sign. And now we have Neptune as the current or modern day um, ruler of Pisces. So we have basically the two co-rulers, if you will, of Pisces energy here with us today. And really, this has been an energy that's been very close for the whole of this year. So even though we're just saying today it comes into that exact conjunction or sextile again, it's still been with us throughout this entire time. So it's creative, it's inspirational, it's enlightening, it's tempting us to go into the deep, really to become more spiritual beings, to re-embrace that part of us that the scientific mind or the logical thinking mind had us letting go of. If you're a religious person, this might be an invigorating of your connection to your God. If you're a spiritual thinking person or spiritual person, this may be a deeper connection to the truths that you've been searching for. But it is also a huge time, huge time to get out of victim mentality and to stop living from that victim martyr savior sort of complex, as well as becoming more ethically to becoming more ethical, more spiritually in integrity. I'm dancing around this because I'm trying to avoid the word moral. To me, morals are something other people outside of you dictate to you because of a religion, because of a culture, because of a society. You know, those are the moral consciousness of a tribe or of a community. So I try to avoid morals because that seems like it's somebody else bringing that to you. So I like the idea of being ethical and of having your own integrity. So being true to you is essentially what this transit is all about. We're going to have another opportunity for this. Right now, Jupiter is retrograde and coming together. So is Neptune, right? They're retrograding into one another. In October, Jupiter will be direct and Neptune will stay retrograde. So maybe we're going over ground where, you know, maybe we're embracing beliefs in a deeper way than what we have had in the past. Either way, I think this is a very optimistic transit in the midst of some very chaotic things that are going on. But it is also Neptune included here, and Neptune in a sign it rules Pisces, and Jupiter as a co-ruler to Pisces. And Pisces energy sometimes is in that fog, is walking through a little bit of the disillusionment, and that can create some, you know, inability for us to really make big decisions and to be able to land on one side or another or one foot or another in a very strong way. So no, there's just this wobbliness here in this. And then it doesn't help that we also have Venus in a square to Neptune today, which puts Jupiter in an inconjunct to Venus today. So we have some more fog entered in here. And these energies center, Venus squaring Neptune, center around our desires, our desire nature, the expectations that we have, and the values through which that we express ourselves in the world. So we may be struggling over what direction that we need to go to in our lives. We may be struggling with a decision that we need to make. And I'm just going to tell you, it's probably not a good time to make a big decision. And if you are, or if you are in the position of having to make one, then by all means, use your type and your strategy and your human design to get clear, concise information that's true for you, right? Not true for me here telling you what this bigger energy is for everyone else, you included, but what is really true for you in this moment. right? So that also brings up these expectations that we always have, right? Who was it I was having this conversation with? I think it was on Friday, maybe somebody I was doing a reading with. We were talking about the gate 30. Either that, it was when I was putting together the webinar for the membership tomorrow, because one of the gates that's prominent during the month of August is going to be the gate 30. And the gate 30 in your human design is the gate of desires. And we're meant to hold our desires lightly, right? We're not meant to not have desires or not want things, but having said to the universe, I want XYZ, we don't have to keep obsessing over that and keep managing it and micromanaging it. Because to do that then creates a sort of mismatch in the energy. And we are trying to manage what it is that the universe is going to bring to us around what it is we desire. And we can totally miss the better part of something that the universe was trying to get into us. But we were too busy being attached to what we thought our desire was. So we have here sort of a call to hold lightly those things that you want, right? If you're trying to create something, let's say, hold it lightly. Keep the picture, the vision of what it is you're trying to create, with allowing the universe to bring you the highest and best expression of that in the right time, in the right way, with the right people, and not being upset when it doesn't quite match, because it's obvious that the universe is bringing to you what you really need, not necessarily just what you want, because we can often get caught up in thinking we want that, but the universe is like, that's not really in alignment with your soul, or your soul saying, universe, help here, right? This is not the right path. This isn't the right direction. So here we may have some confusion. We may have some sort of upsetting feelings around not getting what we want. This may play out in our relationships where we're confused about our feelings with people. So it isn't a time to make a huge decision to get a divorce, to get into a relationship, to take a job, to get out of a job. None of those big decisions that we think of in our life. We want to be able to have a little bit more patience. And I use that word deliberately, because patience is also called for during this period of time. Now, when we look at the inconjunct from Venus to Jupiter and Jupiter's sextile to Neptune, we also have the sun in a sesquiquadrate to Neptune today. It's like all in this one day, right? And this is a minor aspect, but it creates tension. It creates tension in the unseen, maybe in the under kind of world here, in the dark places. And it is where we are having trouble separating fact from fiction, or truth from false. And, I think that's also part of those conspiracy theories that we hear all the time. And I say conspiracy, but it's just an alternate reality, let's call it, instead of conspiracy, because I think that has a negative connotation. So there's this, what we see as reality, but then there's this alternate reality that could be, right? It could be, but we don't know. We don't know. Often the alternate reality appears without facts and without clear-cut reasoning. And it sounds good. It looks good. If it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck. Is it really a duck? Or is it, on the other hand, this reality that we are experiencing on this one level is the alternate reality, and the other one's the reality? That's the point, right? We don't know. So, when we get into trying to separate fact from fiction and truth from falsehood, there's so much confusion out there. You don't know. You don't. And so your people that are promoting those alternate realities, they don't know either. They just don't like the reality that they're seeing. So they're creating something else, reasons for why things are happening. While over here, who knows if this reality is real? All I know is that it's the one that we're seeing. And what do? We need to be able to see clearly from inside of ourselves, right? Because what we see other people or hear other people telling us might not be the truth, right? It might not be the truth. It could be the truth, but it might not be the truth. And we don't know, because there's so much interference out there in the airwaves. So what we think what we may want, what we think we may need may not be what we really want or what we really need. It could be something that's coming up from what we're being told in the outer world. So we may lack the ability to see clearly from the outer world, so we have to come inward. We have to do the truth from the inside out. Venus in conjunct Jupiter, I wrote lacking discrimination in love. This may be people who want love so badly that they are looking for love in all the wrong places. They're looking for love in the faces of people that are all wrong for them, and they know it, but they so badly want to be in that relationship or be in love that they just, discount all of the warning bells going off. So this is sort of poor judgment time, right? So be very keen to listen to your inner guidance. Stop shutting it off, right? Listen deeply. All right. And lastly, today, Mercury in a square to Mars. So Venus squaring Neptune, confusion. Mercury squaring Mars, impatience. So we are going to have to work pretty hard today to stay in a neutral space. We're in the spin cycle. Think about the washing machine where your clothes are spinning round and round and everything is, all the water's being wrung out of it. That's sort of how I feel about today, this and tomorrow, even kind of the way we start this whole week, where with impatience, with the possibility of irritability, because Mercury rules communication, using words as swords, and thinking, instead of thinking first, acting later, we are doing the exact opposite, acting first, thinking later. So this is energy of like that knee-jerk sort of fashion. So slow down, think first, speak out later, right? You speak or act later, because you may not be speaking from a place of love, of patience or kindness or generosity or compassion. You may be speaking from irritability, from anger or upset, not even at the other person, but that the other person just happened to trigger that in you, that response. And also be aware, you guys are hearing these words, so your ability to know and be careful with words is very high, but other people may not be listening to this broadcast, so they have no idea why they've tapped into this anger and they're saying things that they shouldn't say, and later having to go back and apologize or, do something that, to be more contrite in how they've been behaving. So let's be careful today, watching out for some of that Scorpio sting. That's a possibility. By the way, I didn't talk about what are the negative things about Scorpio that we must watch for. Revenge and jealousy, possessiveness, suspicion, guilt, destructive urges. All of those things can come out. Sort of that scorpion sting comes back and gets you when you don't realize it, right? So that's a lot for one day. I think on top of that, we have the moon and the sun today coming into a square with one another. This is our first point of crisis after the new moon. We call this the crisis of action. You may be meeting the first stumbling blocks out in the outer world or in your own thinking about what it is that you were setting as an intention with the new moon just last Monday. So we come to that crisis of action, and remember the word flow. That's how we work with these crises points. We flow. We can go around, we can go over, we can stop the flow. Maybe we just need to dam up the action for a moment. But we do not need to break down, throw a tantrum, and give up everything that we wanted, or start negative thinking about our manifesting what we want or what we desire. We just need to find the way around it. Look at the presentation of the obstacle. And what is it showing you? Is it showing you your own fear about something? Look at that flow. Go with the flow. We also have the moon in an opposition to Uranus today. That adds upsets and surprises. The unexpectedness of the day comes from the moon in that opposition to Uranus. Luckily, it's the moon and she moves quickly, so we can get over that one fairly easily, I would hope. When I drew the chart this morning, the moon was at 5 degrees of Scorpio. Uranus is at 10. So it's just applying that energy at this moment. A little bit later, we'll have the exact, and then it will move on and we'll be done with that. All right. So I'm going to check back really quickly for questions or comments. Joshua, I've got my natal Mars at 23 degrees Cancer. Mars seems to be opening portals to energy or exhaustion here lately. Your natal Mars at 23 Cancer. Yeah. So I would, for you, Josh, to me, it would seem like you would have to go through periods of rest and relaxation, withdrawing a bit, as well as times where you're on it, right? Where you have that action. And I think if you're not consciously coming into that quiet mode and that peaceful, I don't have anything I have to do mode, then you may just miss the signal that you need the rest and you just keep going, going, and going. And I know from looking at your human design chart that you're a manifesting generator and you have the energy to keep going and going and going. But that 23 degrees Mars in Cancer wants to have some time to do what it wants to do, right? To have the free time, to have the quiet time, to go, just relax, kick up your feet, and do nothing, just to maybe just read a book. So take time to do that for you. And I can't remember what your role is, your profile, but I would bet there's hermit energy somewhere in your chart as well. J-Lo, OMG, I know some like that, and it's so hard to help them because I stay quiet. It is not my place. Exactly. And J-Lo, yes, it's a lot. I have 3 Scorpio daughters and a grandson. I have 4 Scorpio grandchildren. I know what you mean, J-Lo. J-Lo, reminding everybody, please take a moment, hit the thumbs up button. If you like the video, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and share it with your friends. Let them know that there is a place to go in the morning for answers about what the energy of the day is going to be like. Allison, can we have a spirit animal card for the collective? I already had that as an intention, Allison, but thank you so much for reminding me. And I don't see any other questions. So that is good. Let's try that. Oh, Josh says hermit role model. There you go, right? Hermit role model. So you're a 6'2", so you're a role model hermit. And that means that you have definite need to take time for relaxation, to get a refresh, if you will. So don't forget that. We'll talk about that more because you and I are doing a reading together on Monday, I think it is. I'm excited. Okay, so this is our card for the collective. And we like to pull the animal cards for a collective because they give us some insight into signs and omens and things. And turtle spirit. Slow and steady wins the race. Look at that. Lovely. And in what I think is highly ironic, it is the number 62, which is an 8. An 8. Turtle spirit. Slow and steady wins the race. It was upright. So let's take a look at that in our book here. So Turtle Spirit says, Turtle Spirit arrives to remind you that when you do what you need to do, putting one foot in front of the other and trusting that you will see your intentions manifest in perfect timing, your prosperity and love will grow exponentially. Now is not the time to rush around trying to force matters. Move slowly, perhaps even so slowly that it almost feels as if you are not moving at all. This may be a time to crawl before walking, taking your time to align to Turtle Spirit's place as you contemplate this road you are on, doing what you need to do in the small moment that will soon pass. Turtle Spirit reminds you that sometimes the best action is to slow right down. So if it feels as if you are not doing enough, know that simply being aware of what is happening right now may be an important step toward determining whether you need to pivot or simply keep putting one foot in front of the other. True love and true success comes with patience, says Turtle Spirit. Focus on the now, and the next step will be clear. That's perfect for all of this Neptune energy in the day. Turtle Spirit. It's a beautiful card. Slow and steady wins the race. Now, I'm wondering if we shouldn't pull a galactic heritage card for us for the week. That just occurred to me too when I was reading that other card, just because I think it might also give us an idea of the evolution of the week, or at least that was my thought, the evolution of the week. Somehow I didn't get all the cards out of there. And this will also be for the collective to help us find our path to evolution of consciousness, becoming evolved consciousness. And we still have a lot of work. Even those of us who've been doing this need to still do a lot of work on this. Ooh, we have a card sticking up here. Open contact. The Pleiades is about the future. 89. Wow. Open contact. So I didn't show you the card. Sorry. Here's the card. Open contact. The Pleiades, and it speaks to the future. Interesting, because then we'll go do our Pleiadian card and I'll be done. All right, this card has to do with meeting an other, stepping onto common ground, into the unknown, and making a connection with a new entity or consciousness. It means facing your fears in order to do this, but experiencing transformation in the process. The future Pleiadians are committed to mentoring humans in this contact process, and their energy is here to assist you. It is also likely that this Pleiadian energy is a future life of yours reaching out through time to support you, or it could be a new channeling experience. Either way, it is time to open yourself to contact. This card connects with an evolved time stream of the Pleiadian civilization in which they are focused on building relationship with other species. In this case, Earth, or in the case of Earth, they are committed to preparing for the contact process and have been engaged in a contact program with humans for nearly a century. This is a natural part of the evolution of a planet. Earth will soon be entering the galactic community and is now being prepared. If this card came up in your reading, it may have many meanings depending upon your circumstances. Perhaps you are well aware of your interest in or experience with ET contact. If that is the case, this card is acknowledging that part of your commitment in this life. It may also be acknowledging a connection you have with specific Pleiadian beings. If this is not the case for you, this contact card may instead be referring to a different kind of contact you are now experiencing, perhaps with your higher self or with spirit guides. It may also be referring to opening contact with a previously hidden part of yourself. Ooh, I like that. If you are unaware of this, start paying attention to the subtle cues around you. Quiet your mind and open yourself to guidance from the universe. Let yourself embrace an other and let that experience assist you in the realization that it is only a reflection of you. Nice and wise there. Love it. Open contact with the Pleiades. Okay. Now, speaking of which, I have just a few more minutes here, and I wanted to make sure you are aware of our Pleiadian energy of the day. Today is 10 seeing energy, and the 10 is the number of manifestation. Are you manifesting from fear or confusion? Or if that's the case, you won't like what you see. Or are you manifesting from love, in which case the results that you have, that you desire, are coalescing around you? Either way, you're manifesting, right? We can manifest from the fear. We can manifest from love. Today is about manifesting, looking at what you're manifesting in your world. If you like what you see, great. You're doing a great job. If you are not seeing the results that you really like or desired, or if it's become chaotic or confusing, it's a possibility you've injected fear into that, so you have an opportunity to course correct at this point in time. Seeing energy says it's time to connect to your highest goals, your highest aspirations, to your highest self, and to see your truth or sense your truth from within you, not looking to the outer world for confirmation of your inner world. And avoid rash actions. All wise words on a day like today. Okay, last bit of comments out there before I sign off. Very accurate card for today. There are no coincidences, Kimberly says. Funny, I was talking to my turtle this morning. That's so funny, J-Lo. Jen Lack, good morning. Allison says, have a great day, everyone. Blessings to all. Thank you, Allison. You too. Okay. Joshua, 89 equals 17 equals 8. Funny. Oh, yes, indeed. All right. Well, with that, guys, much love to all of you. I hope everybody has a stellar day. See you all tomorrow morning. Bye for now.